Today we're going to talk about using Zotero to build bibliographies and citations. Zotero is a free tool that allows you to track and manage the books that you're reading and citing in your paper, and then it will automatically generate the citations and your bibliography for you in a number of different styles of your choosing. So we're going to talk about a couple things today. So what we're going to be covering today, we're going to talk about installing and setting up Zotero. So if you are brand new to Zotero, we'll walk you through just the different things you need to install and how to get them set up to work optimally for the Covenant environment. We'll talk about how you can track and manage your sources in Zotero. So that includes adding books and articles to your Zotero library as you do your research, and some of the other functionality that Zotero provides for managing that information and keeping notes and that sort of thing. And then we'll talk about how to use Zotero to add citations to your paper. So it gets down to actual writing. You need to insert your citation for your quotation or paraphrase. How does Zotero help you with that? So let's talk about installation and setup. So it's very easy. You just go to Zotero.org. That's their website, and that'll give you the download links. There's a couple pieces you have to install. So we'll click the download, and that'll give me my options. So first of all, you'll want to download the Zotero app for your computer, Windows, Mac. That'll give you your option, and that is the main program that you'll be using to manage your library, and that needs to be running in the background for all the other Zotero functionality to work. The next piece is a Zotero connector that installs into your web browser, and that allows you to import information about books, journal articles very quickly and easily as you're doing your research. So just add a toolbar button to your browser, one click, and it goes into your Zotero library. And we'll demonstrate that in a second, but you'll want to install that. Now, a note for all my Macintosh users, the latest version of Safari, they got rid of their old plugin architecture. And so that killed the Zotero plugin for Safari. So you have a couple options. You can switch to another browser like Firefox or Chrome and use the Zotero connector in there. Just whenever you're doing your research, you'll use that other browser. They also have a bookmarklet, a little piece of code that you can pop up in your bookmarks favorites bar or your bookmarks menu. They say there may be an issue with that where it may not always work due to some of the tracking prevention in Safari. In my limited testing, it has worked as long as I'm logged into the Zotero website before I use it. So that is perhaps an option if you still want to use Safari, but otherwise use another browser for now until they get the new Zotero plugin for Safari built, which they're working on right now. I've got a question from online. Is there a mobile iOS version of Zotero? I don't believe there is. I think they also have their web interface, so you can log into the Zotero website at any time and view your library online, so you'll be able to use that on your iOS app or your iOS device, your mobile device. But if you're writing on your iPad, for instance, I don't think it'll work on your iPad, to do citations in your document. Although if you begin that bookmarklet, that might work in Safari for iPad. That'd be something you could tap on there and pull it into you, because that works through the Zotero website. Good question. Okay, so I've already got all this stuff installed on my computer. I've got the Zotero app and everything. So it's very straightforward installation. The other thing I'll point out here is while you're here, you should go ahead and register. Right up here, there's a link to register for a Zotero account. This is a free account. Go ahead and do that. A free Zotero account provides for up to 300 megabytes of storage for backup and syncing. So that's great because you're going to put a lot of effort into, building your Zotero library so you can cite all the books that you're reading. You want to have that backed up. And this is a very easy way to do that just by getting that free account. It'll automatically back up and sync. And then if you're using multiple devices, you'll have your library on every device that you're using as well as the Zotero website. So you'll need to, so go ahead and create that account. So let's start setting up. So the Zotero app gets installed to your computer, and this is the real backbone of the system. So I'm going to go up to Zotero and to the preferences and set up a few things here. So first thing I want to go over to is the sync tab there. And I'm already logged in, but this is where you would then log into your free Zotero account to set up the sync and backup. So you can just hit login there and log in, and you'll be good to go there. Next thing we'll do is go over to the Cite tab, and this is where it manages all your citation styles as well as your word processor integration. So see, there's the first sub-tab is Styles. It comes with a bunch of styles pre-installed. You can delete any of these that you don't need. I don't need the American Chemical Society, so I could delete that style. The main things I want to make sure that I have are either Chicago Manual Style 17th edition full note, that one right there. There's a couple different versions of Chicago Manual Style that they provide, depending on how full you want your notes, or if you're doing author date citation. But you want this one right here, Chicago Manual Style 17th edition full note, or you can use the Turabian 8th edition full note. And of course, if you're doing a counseling paper, you would get the APA style, the American Psychological Association 6th edition style in there. But for most of our work, we use Turabian, which is based on Chicago. So either the Chicago or the Turabian would do it. The only difference I've really noticed is the Turabian version still uses IBIDs for your subsequent citations, whereas the Chicago 17th, which is now kind of discouraging IBIDs in favor of shortened author or author title citations. So the Chicago one uses that. So depending on which one you prefer, if you want to stick with the IBIDs, go pick the Turabian style. If you want to go with the newer way, the same way things are going and doing only shortened citations, pick the Chicago style. Okay, so those are like the three ones that we would use. Everything else in there you can just delete if you don't need those. Okay, next thing is the word processors tab. So before you go to write your paper and cite things in it, you'll need to install the word processor integration. And so that's, you just click the button to launch the installation process to add the Microsoft Word add-in, or to install the LibreOffice if you're using that. And so that's it. So that once you're done setting that up, you've got your sync, you've got your citation style selected and installed, and you've got your word processors, your integration set up, then you're good to start using Zotero. I should note, if you don't see a style that you need, I don't think Turabian comes installed by default, so there's just this link down here, get additional styles, where you can then search for whatever style you need. They have over 9,000 different styles that you can install. Okay, so now we're installed and set up. So let's talk about tracking and managing your sources. Okay, so I'm in my web browser, so I'm using Firefox today for my browser for this. And right up here, you'll notice this new button. If I launch like a new tab, it looks like a Z for Zotero, the Zotero icon there. If I'm on a web page, it'll change. The icon will change depending on the type of thing you're looking at. So this is saying, hey, this is a web page. I can save this to Zotero. So you get that Zotero button in your toolbar. So let's go ahead and add something to there. So let me bring up, let me search in our catalog for a book. So I'll grab Far As the Curse Is Found by Michael Williams. So I click through to the record, and you see that Zotero button looks like a little book up there. And the caption there says Save to Zotero. So I just click that, and it is going to save to my Zotero library. So it's pulled in all the information about that resource into my library. So if I go to Zotero, there it is. You see my library, since I've already used this, you can create these sub-collections, and whichever one you have selected will be the default location for anything new that you add. You can change that as you're adding things, but that will be the default location. So I just have a demo folder here for today. And here's my book right here. So I've got one book pulled into here. Now, my note about this is Zotero is only as good as the data that you give it. If you give it bad data, you're going to get bad citations out of it, right? There's nothing Zotero can do if you give it bad data. So whenever you pull something in, go ahead and give it a quick look over to make sure that it looks accurate. So for example, so I've got, this looks pretty good. I've got author, title, but the publisher place. So for Turabian, we always want those when we want the states to be standard postal abbreviations. So it came in as New Jersey. I want to cut that down to NJ. So Zotero's not going to fix that for me, so I need to fix it for it. If PNR publishing, fine. Everything else looks good here.
Would you want to go ahead and put that in title case as well?
So actually I don't. So the question was, do I want to put that in title case? And actually Zotero will take care of title case for you. So that is one thing it will do for you. So that's a good question. But you're good in that regard. So you don't need to worry about title case. Zotero will handle that for you.
Yes. Speaking of making sure, sometimes there's different prints. And
yes.
So is there a way that you can make sure that it's the correct copyright print version, or do you have to go find that for each book that you're using?
So Zotero, so if I understand the question, so the question is about if you have different printings.
Yeah, so the pages
would be different, yeah. Sure.
Editions.
Different editions. So that information, it's just going to pull. I think I lost my catalog reset here in the background. Let me go back to my catalog record there. So it's just going to pull whatever information is on here. So if there's a different catalog record for a different edition, you just want to make sure you're on the right catalog record for the book that you're looking at.
Okay.
And then, I mean, you may have to, customize it a little bit, tweak it,
sure.
Depending on what information comes in. And if you do notice a discrepancy between, what it pulled in from the catalog versus what is on the title page or the back of the title page in the book, just edit that in the Zotero record until it fits what you need. Okay, so we've got one book in here. Let's go find something else. Let me pull in a commentary.
Sorry.
Yeah, another question.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
When I pull out the Chicago Manual Style Full Note Press Plus, it wants me to. I'm sorry, I missed that. I was downloading at the time. You say where we put it when we.
Let me come back to that at the end.
Okay.
Get you all set up with your styles at the end of the session.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can I add books?
Yeah.
Without that.
Yeah. You don't need to. Yeah. You don't need to worry about having that in place right up front. It's good.
Okay.
If you can get it set up earlier, but it's not going to prevent you from moving forward. You can always add styles later.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, so let me pull up a commentary here. Grab Wenham on Genesis. Here we go, that's the Word Biblical Commentary. So this is a 2-volume commentary, so that adds a different wrinkle in here. So I'm going to add that to my Zotero library. You can see here where I can select the option, until it disappears, I have the option to select which folder I want to put it in as it's saving. Otherwise, it's just going to go into the one that's selected. So here's Genesis. So this time it brought in a note, the table of contents field from the record. It imported that as a note to my record. You can add your own notes. So if you want to keep some notes as you're reading something and you want to put in your own kind of summary or whatever, you can add notes at any time. You add a child note to that item and keep some notes on that. But that sometimes also creates its own notes there for you. So I'm going to look at this and see what we have here. So we have a couple things we want to clean up here. For biblical commentaries, we don't always need the series number in there, especially this one looks a little messy, so I can get rid of that. We've got 2 places of publication were on the record. We only need the first one. So delete that second place that got pulled into the publisher field. It says here number of pages 2. That's actually 2 volumes. So I want to move that up here. So it gets you mostly there. But again, this is where I said, it's only as good as the data you give it to work with. So you do need to do some cleaning up of that. And I think that's it. Yeah, that should be it for this one.
And I'm assuming that just comes with time as you get familiar with what is required.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that knowing kind of what you need to fix will come as you get deeper into it and see what's happening with your citations. If you don't fix something right away, that's fine. You can change it later. And then the beauty of Zotero is it'll update your document for you, which we'll get into that, right? You get the little preview, right? So you don't necessarily have to have it all clean and simple up front. If you see an error later on, you can fix it very easily. Okay, so we got another book in there. Let's find something else. Let's try a journal article for this one. So let me go back to the library homepage. I'm going to pull up the Atlas Religion database real quick and grab an article there. So Ephesians 5:18 by Collins. There we go. So we got it. So pick this one because, hey, it's got some Greek characters in it. So that's nice and fun. That's an interesting one to bring in, see how it handles that. And let's go ahead and so you see the Zotero icon is different here. It's not showing a book. It's showing like a piece of paper. That's the article icon. So you can see that Zotero is recognizing that this is a different thing. It's going to treat it differently. So I'm going to save that to Zotero. So you can see it's saving there. And as well, it's pulling in the full text of the article. So you can see the PDF right there. It's downloading that for you, inserting it into your library.
Into Zotero?
Into Zotero. So I go in there.
Go back and read PDF.
Yep, so there you can see, here's my entry. It's got the PDF attached there. So it helps you organize your PDFs because now you don't have like some folder of weirdly named PDFs sitting on your hard drive. It's all filed away nicely, searchable.
As if we might hypothetically have that.
What's that?
Hypothetically, I might have a file like that on my.
You might have a file like that.
Just hypothetically.
Hypothetically. I think we all probably have one of those files, right? Well, this can help you clean that up because now you've got all that data about the article and it's indexed by that data. So when you come through and you've got a bajillion things in your library and you're like, where's that article by Collins? You can just start typing the author's name and it'll search through, pull up that record, and you've got that PDF. And of course you can access it. You just double click it and it's going to open your PDF reader right there. And then, you know what? Let's pull up the markup tools. I want to do some highlighting or something maybe. Yeah, I think I got my highlighter selected there. I want to highlight some text. Boom. I can highlight my text. I can put in, where's my note tool? There we go. There's a little note. Something there.
Colin's wrong about this.
There we go. Collins is totally wrong about this.
That's a good idea, Eric Stiller. I like that.
So you put that next to my highlight. There's my note. And you know what? That's going to save it to my Zotero library. I come back later. There's my notes and highlights there. So I've got all my research right there at my fingertips. And since I've got this link to my Zotero account, this is being backed up and synced to the cloud.
Wow. You get only a certain amount of space.
Yeah, so so you get 300 megabytes for free. If you exceed that, you can pay for additional storage. So it's pretty good. Most PDFs are, a couple megabytes probably, so that'll get you pretty far. So again, we need to do a little bit of cleaning up here. We maybe need a period after, Collins's first name initial there. Let's see what else we need. We need to, let's see, I pulled in a short title. So if it does a subsequent citation, it'll use a shortened form title rather than the full title. I may want, you can set that to be whatever you want the short title to be. I want to include the verse reference there. I thought that was like a subtitle, divider. So I want to fix that up a little bit. And then, then we already talked about working with the PDF. So I think we're pretty good there on that article. Pulled in the page numbers, all the issue information. So we're looking pretty good there. Okay, let's find one more thing. So as you may know, Atla indexes articles, but also indexes essays published in books. So let me pull one of those in. So let's see, Hansberry, and this is pseudepigraphy. That's the one I want to pull in. Yeah, so here we go, pseudepigraphy in the canon. So this is in a book. This is an essay in a book. So again, so this is an essay. So it's again showing you kind of like that article icon there. We'll save that. It's pulling in a link to all the data, a link to this original EBSCO record. So if I want to go back and find this record again, I can do that. And there it is. So you can see this is pulled it in item type book section. So they have the different item types: journal, article, book section. There's a ton of other ones too, less common.
So where did you see the book? Oh, I see it.
Yeah, so book section. And it's pulled in some information. Now there's some other things I want to pull in here as well. So this is an essay in the book. Maybe I want to, I went to Safari there. Maybe I want to pull in a record for this book. So let's see if we have this book in the catalog. We do. There it is. So I've got a record for one essay. Let me go ahead and pull in a record for the entire book, just so I have that for my own research purposes. So there's that. I want to clean up the information here a little bit. So, put in those periods after initials. I don't know why they're there. Here's a name with a suffix. So the way you handle those is you do, so you have a separate field. You can do different things with Zotero, like you can convert an author name to just like one single field. So like if you're doing, Augustine, you would just put that in. For most modern names, you would have a last name field and then a first name field. But when you get to a suffix, you do first name, comma, suffix. And Zotero will figure that out. Let's see, what else do I need to do there? Let's see, we're missing the state on the place there. So we'll do Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then,
I have a question, Steve. Do you
yes.
have the book section nested underneath the book title?
It is not nested, no.
Mine's
so
in a
those will-
different order, so I must have.
Yeah. So you may import them in a different order. So that those are not a hierarchical relationship there. So there's a note. So again, you see on this note, it pulled in the table of contents note from the catalog record into a Zotero note. And then the other thing I want to add in here is the names of the editors. So I can specify, okay, I'm going to give an editor name. And one of them is last name Hayes. There he is there. So it's doing autofill. So it's probably pulling that in because I imported the book record as well. So his name is in the index. And then actually that's Ansbury again. Not sure why that isn't. That should be autofilling for me. There we go. Ansbury Christopher B. Okay, so those are my two editors. And then this record looks good there. So that's all ready to go into my paper. One last one I want to pull in here just to show you something a little different. I'm going to go out to Google Scholar. Y'all know about Google Scholar? Google Scholar is Google's web search for scholarly information. So it's kind of limiting to things published in online journals, patents, legal cases, stuff like that. So all kinds of information that's out there. So I'm going to pull up something from Nelson Jennings. Cultural disorientation. Here we go. It's an international bulletin of missionary research. And here I'm going to grab this link from Sage. So here I was able to go in, since I'm on campus, it's going to let me in and give me access to the PDF. They're online since we have online subscription to this journal. For those of you online, you'd want to go in through our journals A to Z list, so you get routed through the Covenant authenticated connection, so you get access to that. But again, it recognizes that this is an article on Sage Journals. Pull that into my Zotero library. It's grabbing the information. It's grabbing the PDF. And we're all set to go there. And I think
Maybe you said this to me. I got a ProQuest website there.
Yeah. So you have to. So you got a ProQuest. So when I originally did this, it found a couple different sources on that. So it defaulted to ProQuest. You see that right there, ProQuest. So if you view all three versions,
I see.
right? So here's the SagePub one. Nice tip: if you see that find full text at Covenant link in,
Is that why you chose Sage?
that's why I chose that, because I knew we have full text access through Sage for that journal. And again, if you are off campus, pro tip, hit the little hamburger icon up there, the three lines, go to settings. See, we're on campus, so it knows we're on campus, so it's going to give us the Covenant library links. Go to library links and add Covenant Seminary to your Google Scholar configuration. So this way, even if you are off campus, you'll see that find full text, that Covenant link show up in Google Scholar. And then you can click through to there and get access that way.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so let me go back a bit. So when you're at Google Scholar, hit the hamburger button, the three horizontal lines. hit settings, and one of the areas there is library links. So you'll probably already see this since you're on campus. It'll come up, Covenant Theological Seminary. But if you're off campus, search up here in the search box for Covenant and make sure that is checked.
So you have to do this each time when you're off.
No, I think once you do it once, it saves a cookie, it saves that to your browser and remembers that in the future.
So I won't see the checked boxes when I'm off campus.
When you're off campus, you would not see this. You'll probably always see the Open World Cat 1 because that's just a default that everyone
As I
gets.
start typing in Covenant, will it autofill for me? And
You type Covenant and search, and it'll bring us up. And then you click save, and then that'll save that to your browser. And then all future times you visit Google Scholar, it'll give you our links. So I got to the Sage journal page. I imported the information from there. I've got my journal article in here. The only thing I really need to change here probably is the issue date. If you look at it, this journal just has the month as the issue date. It was pulling that from the, this is when this was published online, but the actual issue date is July, not July 1st. So again, so not the biggest thing in the world, not going to get you an F on your paper or whatever, but one of the things you can be looking out for that sometimes you get weird things like, if it doesn't quite look right, then you want to follow up on that. And just know that you look at that journal maybe and see, oh, okay, the issue date on the journal is just July. So, and we're all good there. It's got, pulled in a digital object identifier based URL for that journal, which is great. For your citation, it's got that DOI right there on the record. And if at any time, you have the option to go view that online, it'll go open up that page in your web browser. And you can go back to right where you were. Okay, so we've got several things in my Zotero library. So we talked about how you can add attach notes to records, how you can keep your PDFs stored in Zotero and mark them up. I should note about that, it'll use your system's default PDF reader. Preview the app in macOS is really nice where it'll auto save to whatever file on your local hard disk Zotero is caching it, so it can update it. If you're on a Windows computer and you're using Adobe Reader, I found that when you click save, it wants you to pick a location to save it. Now it should bring up that temporary Zotero folder as a target destination, so you just want to click that, save it with the same name, and overwrite the file, and then it should work. But again, that's particular to Adobe Reader, so just a note about that. Okay, so now let's actually cite some things here. So I've got a Word document here. I'm going to use Microsoft Word today. Don't worry about the text. This is just dummy Latin text that I put in here just for, so it won't be too distracting by trying to read something real. So in Word now, since I had gone through that step of setting up and installing the Microsoft Word plugin for Zotero, you can see up here in my ribbon, I have a Zotero tab. And so this is where I'm going to manage all my citations now. So I go wherever I want to put in a citation and where I want to put my footnote, and I can just do add citation. It'll take care of creating the footnote for me, and then I just need to tell it what I'm going to cite. So let me start with something, that article from Collins there. So I just start typing, some keywords, author name, title, whatever I've got. I can select that, and it's going to add that to my citation. Now I can go ahead and add additional ones. If I'm referencing multiple different people, I can type that in here. I can put multiple citations in. Now I'm going to want to add a page number, so I'm going to click on that. And I can do different things like add, something, prefixing it, if I want to do, C or, something else. But mainly I just want to do the page number. And let's see, so I'm going to choose, it's on page 23. There we go. Hit return. And there's my citation for me, right? Super easy. Now, one thing I forgot, probably the first thing you actually want to do before you do that is visit the document preferences. Because this is where you set it up. So this is where you choose the citation style that this document will use. So right now, it's defaulted to Turabian. I'm going to put it in Chicago full note. Again, you can change whether you do footnotes or endnotes. I'm going to do footnotes, and we'll hit OK there. And so now it has gone through and updated, processed that change. It doesn't look any different since Chicago and Turabian are basically the same thing. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do, what do I want to do? I'm going to do a different citation this time. So I pull in Williams, as far as the curse is found, and we'll, cite page, 87. Right, boom, there. I've got my citation. Super easy. And again, since I've already checked to make sure all my data looks good, my citations are going to look good. Now let's go back, and what is it going to do if I go back and cite Collins again? So here it's pulling that one I've already cited to the top of the list. Make it easy for me. And I'm going to do page 25. And there, so you can see that it's doing that shortened citation. So Collins, the short title, and there's that short title field in Zotero where you can change what you want that to be. And the page number.
And it just says that for subsequent references.
Yep, just for subsequent references. The first one, again, since we're using Chicago full note, is going to give you all that information, author, the full title, and all that. Let's add another Collins. We're citing him a lot today. And we'll do, what page did I do before? We'll do the same page, 25. Right? So there. Now let's say I do it in, we go up to document preferences. We'll choose Turabian since that's the one that does IBIDs. Going through, updating all my citations. There we go. Since I got 2 in a row, I get the IBID, but Turabian. And I say, nope, I don't like that. I want to go back to Chicago.
And every time you
Change
do that,
it
it's
back.
the whole document.
And it'll go through the whole document. Now, if you ever see anything that doesn't get updated, refresh button. This will manually trigger a refresh of everything in your document. Now, as you get, now if you're working on a really big document, it can take a while to do that refresh. And if you're doing like a dissertation or something like that, occasionally it could like bog down your computer, if you have to do that every time you insert a citation. So you can turn off the automatically update citations. And then just when you're done, hit the refresh button, go get a cup of coffee, and come back and all your citations will be updated. Okay.
Why would you want to change the format? Like you can get Word halfway through the paper, like, oh, you're supposed to use this. Or
yeah, I mean, sometimes that would be more for a person who's writing an article and they don't know where they're going to submit it to yet, maybe, or where it's going to get accepted. And then they're sort of just doing whatever style they prefer. And then before they submit it, they're going to go in and select that journal's style. And boom, their document's already updated. So let me add one more. I'll add that book section one that we found there. And I forget what page numbers that was, so I'm just going to type in something that's probably wrong, but there we go. Just so you can see that it can handle that book section format there. And that has a bunch of authors, so it's giving you the et al. In the footnote and everything like that.
Is there a shortcut instead of having to always hit that button, add citation? Like,
I don't know if there's a keyboard shortcut or not for that. You may be able
No.
to configure that in Word, but I don't know of one off the top of my head. Okay, so let's go down this. So now we've got some citations in there. Now we need a bibliography, right? So I'm going to go down here to the bibliography section I've got for my paper. And hey, there's an add edit bibliography button. So I'm going to click that. And bang, there's my bibliography.
So everything you cited in that paper,
Everything I cited is going to be in there.
and it goes in
Wherever you had your cursor.
Yeah.
You just put your cursor where you want your bibliography, hit the bibliography button, and you get your bibliography. So I'm going to update. So I notice here that everything is just kind of crammed together here. I need to give that a little bit of space. So Zotero created this style in my document, bibliography. So I can modify that, go to paragraph formatting, and tell it to put 12 points of space, one line after each bibliography entry. And now I have my properly spaced bibliography. Yep, so that's in Word, that's the Home tab. You want to open that Styles pane, and you'll see the bibliography style. Select it if you have your cursor in there, and then you can modify that style and add the paragraph spacing. So that's one thing you might have to do to fix that up. Okay, anyway, if you do need to make a change to anything in here, so you didn't clean up your data before you brought in your citation. So you notice when you click on any of these, they highlight in gray. So that means that there's some code underneath in your word processor that's managing this. Zotero has its hooks in the citation. So at this point, you don't want to manually edit anything that Zotero produces. Because actually, if you try to, it'll throw up an error. But if you do, like Zotero can come through, and next time you refresh your document, all your changes are going to go away, right? So what you want to do is, if you see something wrong, edit it in Zotero, right? If you need to add a period, somewhere, or there's a misspelling, fix that in Zotero. Then refresh your document, and it'll bring that new data in, and it'll update your citation for you. Okay, so don't manually edit in Zotero, and let it automatically update your citations. The other thing you can do, you can click that and click in any citation. And if you hit that add edit citation button, that allows you to edit your citation. So you're like, oh, that's the, oh, that quote went on to, page 24. So I update that, and I can correct my citation. Okay, the last thing I'll show you, if you are going to turn this in, this is the document that you're going to turn into your professor or turn into an editor. If you're doing a dissertation or something like that, maybe you don't want, maybe you want someone to be able to manually edit your citations, or maybe there's some weird edge case citation that Zotero isn't quite handling correctly, and it needs a little help. Right, so save it to the end, make a note. When you're all done writing your paper, when you're all done introducing citations, you can remove that the Zotero hooks into your document so that you can manually override anything it has done. Right, so what you want to do at that point, save a new copy of your document, keep a copy with the Zotero hooks in it, so that if you do need to go back and you're like, oh, I forgot to cite this, so that you can add that in. But save a new copy, and then hit this button up here, unlink citations. That'll go through your document. It'll just convert all these Zotero citations into just plain editable text. And it'll pull out all the Zotero code, and then you can share that document with whoever, and it's not going to mess them up, or it'll allow you to make any manual edits that you need to make.
So you want to do that, you're submitting a paper, sending a paper.
At the very end,
Right, okay.
when you're ready to submit. Now, maybe you're going to save it as a PDF to submit. Then it doesn't matter, right? You're
Okay.
just going to print it to a PDF, and then who cares? And then you still have your document that the Zotero coding in, and in case you need to revisit it at a later date. But yeah, again, if you're going to do unlinked citations, make sure you save a backup of your original document first. Okay, so that is it. That's your basic introduction to Zotero. How to install it, how to get it set up to use here at Covenant, how do you pull stuff into your Zotero library, very easy, and then how do you use Zotero to produce citations in a bibliography.
You didn't go through websites, YouTube, video, but the same process.
Same process, yeah. So any website that you're on, if you need to cite a website, if you're not in a library database or something like that, it'll recognize, hey, this is just a web page, and it'll save a record for that.